Good morning.
Good morning. We're almost live.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Today is May 11th, and this is the meeting of the Design Review Committee. This open meeting of the Design Review Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. All members of the Design Review Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. This act allows the Design Review Committee to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Members, Dave Varon says he's in the waiting room. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dario DeMar?
Yes.
Lisa Maselli?
Lisa, you're on mute.
Turn around, look at my plans. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
And Lori, do you see Dave?
Do.
Should I wait till he says here? Oh, Dave, we're just calling your name.
Dave, you're on mute.
You just have to say here. You're on mute.
Still on mute.
Well, we'll let him get off mute.
Do a thumbs up by your face.
There's a picture.
And okay, staff is Lori Connors.
Here.
Okay. The chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait till the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair. Each vote taken by the board or committee will be conducted by roll call vote. Again, it's May 11th and it's 8:36. And the first item on our agenda for today is the FedEx application on Bartlett Street, 300 Bartlett.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now I noticed Tom's in. Tom, you're not here for FedEx, right? So should he be in the waiting room until?
This is a regular meeting, so it's not a webinar. So we don't typically put people in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. All right. So where we left off with FedEx is we had talked about some conditions. I'm not sure if the representative from FedEx would like to speak to some of the items we talked about last month.
Yeah, I think they were really, good morning, my name is Peter Elson with TEC, the civil engineer representing the project. Coming out of the last meeting, I think there was really four kind of key items that we discussed. The first being some additional landscaping being requested along the front of the site. I can share my screen here. So as part of the package of site plans that TEC prepared and submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals, who is going to ultimately issue a decision on this project. We included a landscaping plan with 29 proposed arborvitaes along it's about a 6-foot wide grass panel at the front of the site. And I also have this figure here that I brought up during the last meeting. So There would be 29 arborvitaes that are gonna be planted about 9 feet on center, so about 9-foot spacing from center to center. Starting about here and then coming all the way across the top of this hill to here. The second item that we talked about, this sign over here, the FedEx sign at the front of the site, has kind of fallen into disrepair, so the owner and applicant has agreed to repair that sign. The third item was really a traffic related issue, and it was something that we discussed for at the planning board hearing last week. And I believe that the planning board has or plans to issue an advisory comment or letter to the zoning board related to that issue. Essentially requiring that all the truck traffic coming out of the site is going to turn right. And in order to accomplish that, I think what the planning board is recommending is some additional signage and potentially some staff training for the FedEx drivers. And then the fourth issue was related to the site lighting. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer on this one yet, other than we are exploring the feasibility of adding some metal shielding to the existing light poles that are out there. The issue that was raised is that because of the location of FedEx kind of being at the top of the hill on Bartlett Street, those light poles, although they're not necessarily sending light off site or past the property line, there is some glare that can be seen from pretty far away just because of the topography and the way that the lights stand up at the top of the hill. I've been working with my lighting designer to try and come up with a solution that would be a retrofit to these existing light poles, where we could add some metal shielding to the light poles to prevent that glare, so you couldn't really see the lighting fixtures from so far away, essentially. The tricky part of adding that after the fact is the design of these light poles. They're already pointed directly straight down. It's at a 90-degree angle. It's not like these are angled up and kind of shooting at an angle at the site. So we just want to make sure that we're not going to end up with any dark spots within the existing parking lot, essentially. And then once we have the final kind of solution for that, we will pitch it to the FedEx operators on site and make sure that they're okay with it. So I think that's a pretty good summary of what we discussed at the last hearing, and I would turn it back over to the board to see if you have any questions.
I guess one other thing I had on my list too was that the condition that the maintenance building will only be maintaining the FedEx trucks. But like you said, we did talk about these conditions at the planning board last week also. And I think you would agree that that wasn't a problem to add that as a condition.
Agreed.
Okay. Do any board members have anything else, questions, concerns?
Amy,
Yes, Lisa?
just in getting back to the sign, how much longer we have unlit on one side and lights on the other? Isn't there?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Lisa? I didn't, you broke up a little bit.
I said, I'm just checking on the timeline for this repair on the sign. It shouldn't really have anything to do with waiting until it goes to ZBA and everything else, does it? I mean, that's just part of the maintenance of the building.
Okay, I can accelerate that. I'm sorry, I must have misinterpreted. I was planning on like working the repair of the sign into this overall construction package that I'm working on. But I hear what you're saying, and I can absolutely bring that up to my clients and to FedEx to see if they can accelerate that to get it done immediately.
I appreciate that because it's only going to get worse with every rainstorm and debris that might be flying into the other side. Thank you.
Yep.
Also,
I got a quick question. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
The arborvitae that you're placing up top, how many feet on center is that?
9 feet on center.
9 feet on center, and how high, what size are you planting them at?
The planning board has requirements for that, I believe, right? Is it 5 feet tall minimum, or is there a height requirement?
6 feet minimum.
6 feet.
Okay. And then, again, I apologize because I'm on a really small screen. How much room do you have between the curb and is there fencing there? I can't quite tell here.
Yeah, it's about a 6 foot wide level grass panel from the curb to the chain link fence.
Say that again?
6 foot wide grass panel.
Okay. All right. I guess you're tight. Now, as far as your snow planning, is there snow being pushed against that, or how do you deal with the snow on that area?
Yeah, in that area, it'll be a little bit tricky. They're probably gonna have to just push the snow back out to the front of the site and kind of pile it up elsewhere.
Okay. Not my favorite or best choice of shrub for that area because that's gonna be tight real quick there. Eesh. Not much space, you really don't have much other choice.
Hey, Dave.
I'm wondering. Yep.
Yeah, I'll butt in for 2 seconds. One of the things that we did
Yeah, shoot.
notice. One of the things that we noticed was that since the hill was so high and the angle from Bartlett was so far down, you could put anything up that was, it only had to be about 6 feet tall, because then your line of visibility, you wouldn't see any of the buildings behind it because of the angle. So that allowed us, if it was a solid fence or something as tall as, 6 foot, any type of a bush, you actually wouldn't see any of the buildings. So it was nice that these guys were adding vegetation, but it's not like it's flat where we need a 20-foot tree to cover a 24-foot building. We did look at the sight lines, and I'm just throwing this out there so if you have ideas or thoughts, but because of the angle, you only need about 6 feet and you don't see any of the buildings with anything, which is kind of nice.
Right. No, I agree. We were planting between that and the curb, correct? Not on the other side. Am I correct?
Yeah, it would be between the fence and the curb is where the grass panel is. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's just I'm concerned long-term growth, Dario, of the shrub. It's just it's just gonna occupy that space very quickly.
Yeah.
That's my only concern. I see exactly what you're talking about as far as the height goes. I'm just saying, long term is going to get too big and have to get cut down for them. Are they any better off planting? I mean, it's a steep hill to try to plant something on, though, and maintain. It's a tough situation. I guess maybe arborvitae and just leave it. And then they're just gonna have to prune it and maintain it. So, I'd say just let it be. It's a tight area. So it's fine.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering, is it better just to have them separated further and have fewer trees to give room for growth, or just leave it as is?
I'd leave it as is because what's going to end up happening is you get the 6 foot width, and that's what I'm concerned with. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine. Let it go. We'll have to maintain them and kind of
Okay.
keep them trimmed up. That's all.
All right. Thanks. Dario, do you have anything?
Yeah, the only thing he talked about a little bit, and I do appreciate you, Peter, addressing everything, is the site lighting. it's not, when you stand at Bartlett Pond, it's not really glare. I think you got it figured out. I'm not sure if glare is the right word, but you can just see the light fixtures. So it's a big bright white ball, in the sky, if you will, bouncing off the pond. So I think shielding it just from that one direction is all we need. And I understand you have to keep certain foot candles in the parking lot for safety. But that's really all. It's seeing the fixtures themselves from there. And I 100% believe that was not considered, not through trying to get away with anything, but who would think something a couple of miles away would be able to see it. But it's just because of where you are on the hill and how tall the fixtures are that you can actually see it from there. So, but I appreciate you guys looking at that.
Yeah, no problem. And I think at a minimum, right, we have poles that are along the western edge of this parking lot that it'll be very easy to incorporate the shielding onto those poles because, we aren't worried about blocking light from anything to the west.
Correct.
But it's more the poles that are located interior to the lot where if we added, a 3-foot aluminum shield to the light, would we end up with a dark spot, here? So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at just to make sure that we don't lose, we don't end up with a safety situation.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think the ones on the west are probably the biggest culprits because they're at the highest part, and closest to the pond. So that may
I
work.
agree.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Lori, do you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay, so if there's nothing else to add,
Amy, I have a quick question.
sure.
Sorry. When you were talking about the snow and where to place it, in that 21 bays, was that building already erected and you're just looking to use the inside of it? Or was that a space where they actually used it for snow storage?
Yeah, I think they did use part of that area for snow storage under their current, usage up there. I can bring up an aerial that shows you exactly what it looks like today. But the good thing is that this site has so much parking on it and so much impervious area already that there's plenty of space to stockpile snow on site. It's not like they're at risk of not having enough parking. They're so far above the requirements for zoning. And all the site visits that I've been on out there, there's dozens and dozens of open parking spaces on site.
All right, because I was just, responding back to what Dave Barron had talked about with, sliding it to, or having difficulty putting it somewhere. What were you saying, Dave, about that?
Okay, I figured this thing out. Just concerned where the snow placement's going to go on site as far as snow storage plan, because there's an incredible amount of asphalt up there, and where all that snow is going. That's my main concern up there.
Okay, because you heard what I
Yeah,
had
so
said.
snow removal plan.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So does a snow removal plan, a new one, get put with this for the application going to the CBA?
I can put one together if you all want to include a condition to the ZBA or a recommendation that be provided. I think the one caveat to this is, they obviously have an existing snow plan in place today.
Yes.
And when we build this project, there's actually going to be less paved area on the site. We're putting in new buildings with substantially flat roofing at the site. And so there's actually less area for the plows, to plow essentially. So the amount of snow that's gonna be generated within the pavement area is actually gonna be less than what's already there. I think I'm sorry, I didn't know the gentleman's name that asked about the snow originally, but this area at the front of the site is now gonna be changed so that it'll be employee parking. So in this area, it'll be kind of like fenced in so that they will have to probably use some kind of, payloader or tractor to remove that snow, put it in a truck, and then pile it up elsewhere on site. But the way that they currently operate and store snow is that they just create large snow stockpiles at the back of the site within the paved area. And then as it slowly melts, it goes, into the stormwater system to be treated.
Okay, but I would think that you're taking it away from one area that was already in an agreement. So you'd probably have to do something that was, X amount of areas missing here, X amount of areas added here, this type of thing, if I'm describing it correctly. So I would think that would be an important thing to bring in.
Sure.
Yep, that sounds like a good idea. So Lori, you can add that to the list of conditions that the snow plan is shown.
Sure. Yep. I took the notes already.
Okay. So what I have on the list, and anybody tell me if there's anything missing, that in the memo that's going to go to the ZBA, and we could word it like you did the 78 West Main Street, where if the ZBA decides to approve, then these are the recommended conditions that we had.
Yes.
So we're going to add that they do an updated snow storage plan. The landscaping, unless that's already showed on the site plan, was the
It
site
is.
plan to be updated?
It has been. Yes.
Okay. The shielding of the lights. And I noticed in our minutes, I read one of the minutes, it said that we were recommending signs to have them turn right, but I think it's more than just signs. It's like what he said, the signs, the prohibiting of the trucks going left, and also the training of the employees.
Do we want to
Or is that planning board?
duplicate? Yeah, because it really isn't a design review committee purview with regards to truck traffic. It's more of a planning board issue. So
Okay,
that's something that was discussed to be included in the planning board letter.
okay. As long as it's in one of them. What about the maintenance building being FedEx? Is that planning board or?
That was another condition we talked about at the planning board meeting. And
Okay.
it's more appropriate as a planning board issue. And
Okay,
the applicant has already said that that's what they're doing anyway. So that wouldn't be a variance from what their intent is to begin with.
right. But it would be good to have as a condition. Because, if they say their intent, but it might not stay that way. And then repairing the sign, if it doesn't get repaired before the application, then we definitely want it as a condition that it gets repaired. But that would be something too, Bob could, if it could go out and do a inspection on, because he's in charge of signs. And I think some of the sign bylaw says that the signs shall not be left in disrepair. Okay, so I think, does that cover everything? Everybody, is there anything else missing?
Don't think so.
Okay. All right, so then we're all set. Thank you for coming in, Peter.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good day.
You too.
Peter, good job.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, next on our agenda at 8:58 is 305, 309 Main Street. Who will be the applicant? Who will be speaking for that?
I'll start, if I may. James Tatro from Azimuth Land Design, are representing SAL 305-309 Main Street LLC.
Welcome, James.
Thank you. What are we going to do as far, Lori, as you're going to be able to share the,
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You should be all set.
okay, so I can share screen?
Yes.
I hope this works right because okay, I've got the two screens. I'm always terrified it's going to give this sort of weird split screen thing. All right, so let's see.
Looks good. We see the site plan.
Okay, you can see it good because I can't tell whether you can or not. So, okay, what you're looking at is the existing conditions plan. The site is the two parcels at 305 and 309 Main Street. It's the north side of Route 20, containing all of the frontage between the intersections of Route 20 with Bartlett Street on the west side and East Main Street on the east side. And it also contains some frontage on East Main Street. Total, it's 1.38 acres and has previously been the site of the Texas Barbecue Restaurant, which I think the sign is may still be out there out front. The site is in, how can we say this nicely, a degree of disrepair at the moment. And the applicant intends to make this a walk up and drive through restaurant with ice cream and beverages being served. And the applicant has a detailed landscaping plan for how this site, in addition to simply adding parking space and cleaning up the entrance onto Route 20 and adding an access onto East Main Street. In addition to simply cleaning up the site, the applicant is going to has a very extensive landscaping plan. Right now, to go through the engineering side of things, this site has effectively no drainage collection. There's a culvert under Route 20 by the Route 20 side of the property where water has to puddle up and pool up on this site to a certain degree before it will leave the site. The applicant is going to install a drainage system. We're going to have infiltration of that captured drainage after it's gone through a CDS stormwater filter unit. And this is all going to be meeting the DEP stormwater management standards. We're going to use the existing septic system. There are existing electric connections to the site. So other utilities are going to be the same, but we're going to install a drainage system where none exists now. And the site is in the Business East zoning district where this is a use by right, but we've had a zoning interpretation by Mr. Federico, and we've got a need to file with the ZBA for a special permit for the use and for being in groundwater district, overlay district 3, which we will be improving the site's condition as far as the groundwater overlay district. Again, there's no infiltration now, there will be. And so we're going to end up filing with the ZBA for a special permit with site plan approval. And as I say, we submitted site plans showing existing conditions plan, this first plan. I'm going to jump a sheet. Hopefully there's no issues. Oops. Okay. A little larger there. How about that? That's site layout showing, as I'm moving the cursor around, that's the existing building. And in the area here where 7 parking spaces are proposed on each side, this is an existing paved surface. We're going to resurface this and make this much nicer. And we're going to add also parking spaces out here towards the east end to be able to handle what demand may arise from the use. Again, we've got proposed drainage collection, runs through stormwater filter unit. We've got in-ground infiltration and detention out to the existing culvert. Again, we're not changing the footprint of the building. Tom Reardon will be able to go into what is changing about its appearance. It's going to be vastly improved. And we are adding a drive-through lane on the west side, which will have queuing for 9 cars. Actually, it could probably be more than 9 cars, but at least 9 cars. As I mentioned, we're going to clean up this intersection, the entrance, I should say, excuse me, on Route 20, where it's kind of extra wide in 2 spaces, 2 areas now. But we're going to get traffic to come in away from anyone leaving the drive-through lane. And we're going to add a entrance onto Route 20, excuse me, to East Main Street over here. That's just about the end of, I think, what I would talk about, and I will shift over to I think I'll go to the landscaping plan and maybe turn it over to Larry if he's, Mr. Green, if he's on this this call, this meeting. Are you here, Larry?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
good morning. Is it possible to share a screen?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing and I'll let you share.
Oh, you share so nicely.
You should be able to now.
All right, where am I? See if I can. Right. I can't. Hold on. Sorry, I'm fighting this technology.
Larry, if even I could do it.
Can you? I guess can you see that drawing or no?
No,
Let's try this. Can you see that?
up started.
Can you see that plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so good morning, Larry Green. As Jamie talked about, I'm here to address the landscape plan. So I'm starting here with this plan here. This is basically an imagery of the proposed landscape plan, the landscape palette. So you can see here, there's a lot of variety here, a lot of different blooming cycles, a lot of different textures, and just varying plant communities of broadleaf evergreens, coarser texture evergreens, your ornamentals, to provide a lot of winter interest. I just want you to picture this, and then while I talk about plant communities, you can kind of hopefully visualize what we were trying to do here. So I'll try to see if I can share another plan here. One moment. Sorry, I'm not this good with this technology. Can you see this?
Yeah.
All right, so here's a landscape plan. I'm going to work kind of going right to left or west to east on the plan, kind of starting over in here in Bartlett Street, and kind of seeing this light green area. That's an existing wooded area that we're preserving, act as a buffer to Bartlett Street. And then within that, it's kind of neat. It's a good mix of honey locust and elm trees that we're going to preserve. So it gives you a lot of good variety and coarse textures on your bark, but also it has a different leaf structure, a little bit lighter green. So we want to preserve that. It's kind of a neat little texture. Above that, you can kind of see this green here. That's an existing arborvitae hedgerow that we're going to preserve. And then kind of working up kind of a backwards L here. These existing arborvitaes are probably 30 feet high. We're also preserving those, act as a nice backdrop and just kind of visual screening. And then working our way, kind of going this way along Bartlett to along Route 20, kind of in this lawn area here that we're proposing plantings in this corner here. That's going to be a nice mix of blooming cycles. Right? So you're talking about, your smoke bush, your dogwoods, kind of your cypresses, your spireas, your winter berries, your myricas, and your 9-bark or physocarpus. So which kind of gives you a good variety of colors, textures throughout the year to give you a good variety, act as a buffer in that corner, and kind of working our way this way. We're going to maintain this area as lawn, kind of for the people to go there and enjoy their drinks and ice cream. But I also wanted this area here for snow storage as needed. Coming across the driveway, kind of here, you kind of see this area here, as James talked about, there was no stormwater there. So there's an existing depression there that's going to help with stormwater design. But as part of that, we wanted to soften that, look more naturalistic. So kind of proposing a native landscape plan. We're kind of right on the rim of that basin, which is going to help buffer, accent, and the like. So you're including your viburnums, your northern berries, your myricas, some ornamental grasses. Kind of get some kind of a soft, wavy look in that area, but still act as a buffer. And kind of then working your way this way. Not to sound corny, but we also took a lot of effort here to try to make the dumpster pad part of the landscape plan. So you can kind of see it here. We kind of tucked it in here and kind of wrapped it around with your privets, your Rosa Sharons, your butterfly bushes, your hydrangeas, kind of nestled in, getting a lot of year-round color in that area. And then kind of just working along the back of East Main Street. When we first pulled into the site, we're like, whoa, maybe we should preserve this plant community because it's mature. But when we got in there, we walked that area probably 2 or 3 times. And as we peeled the onion back in there, we got in there, there's a lot of old spoil piles. There's a lot of invasive species in there. Your bittersweet, your autumn olives. There's a lot of that in there. We saw a lot of older arborvitaes and junipers that have no understory. A lot of sucker, crabapple sucker. So there wasn't anything in there to preserve. So we said, okay, let's clean that area up, create a nice backdrop to our project, and introduce a lot of just colors and textures and trees. So in that whole back row, we're intermixing in our some kind of a red beech, your birches, your dogwoods, some of your really calm or oaks, intermixing in there with some ornamental grasses. And we kind of went, and then coming into this area here, helped define that area. We went kind of, I'm going to say formal, but not really me formal. We really cut some columnar plantings in your arborvitaes, a little bit of rose hedgerow and the like to kind of define that area, and then kind of just mimic that same landscape on this side of your birches and your dogwoods and the like, intermixing in some ornamental grasses, and then kind of over in this corner here, just kind of tie to these existing arborvitaes, some spruce trees. So that's kind of a quick summary of the landscape design.
All right, thanks. One quick question, because we'll probably meet again next month. Is there any way to do like a street view? We've recently been getting the pictures, so it looks like these look great, but to me, I see it. I'm not the landscape person, I'm planning, but to me, I just see circles and dots. Like, is there a way that you can do a street view to see what it would look like if you were a neighbor looking in from East Main Street and if you were looking in from Route 20?
Yeah, glad to.
Okay,
Not a
I
problem.
think that would help me.
Sure. We're all picture people, not a problem.
Great. How deep is the basin there?
It's probably 2-3 feet, James. It's not like concern for child safety, but I'm guessing 2-3, probably 3 feet, I'm guessing.
It's a little more than that. The culvert invert is at 283.7, and depending on exactly where you are, you're going to go to 287 on the parking spaces to the west. So that's 3 and change feet. But that drop is over about 35-40 feet. So it's not a quick drop of 3 feet.
Yeah. I was just wondering too, for children's safety, we've had some pretty big rain and a child could drown in 3 feet of water. And could an underground system be put in there?
Okay.
That was just something I'd, want you to look at if you could.
Sure.
Yeah. So I guess on that, James and I went back and forth on that a little bit. And the reason we went with under the stormwater handbook, you have to have slopes of 3 to 1. And I think we went flatter to that for child safety. And then we also added in that kind of that dense planting around the rim of that basin to help deter kids from getting in there.
Right. But then sometimes if a kid falls in there, then you don't see him. I don't know. There are some places around town now that I see that have these big drainage basins that are like ponds in the front yard, and seeing it's an ice cream place with a lot of little children. To me, I don't know what the difference would be or the price difference, but I think it would make sense to me to have an underground system.
Like that price would be significant. I guess if you're looking for a deterrent, then maybe we'll add in a couple plantings that maybe have some thorns, help deter some kids from getting in there. Maybe something like that.
I agree with Amy.
we'll put some thought into this and
Right.
we would take that comment very seriously.
You
Right.
guys also have an infiltration structure here as well, is that correct?
That's correct, to the north of that, under the parking closer to East Main Street.
Okay,
So, and that culvert is open right now. And we were just trying to deal with it as best we could with the situation that we have right now. We hadn't really thought of trying to close it all up. But we'll put some thought into that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions about the landscaping?
I do. There's a couple of things. Right now, the lot is in disrepair. There's a lot of broken pavement. This looks like an awful lot of pavement here. I mean, you've got 34 to 36 parking spaces, and then you're 34, and then you're looking to queue up 9+ cars.
Yep.
What's the ratio you have from pervious to impervious in terms of, I know it's an acre, right? An acre plus?
1.38 acres is the site. I don't have the ratio, I'm sorry, right at hand, but I'll have that for you and I'll send that in. But I can tell you, we submitted a drainage report comparing the existing condition to what is proposed, and we are going to improve the situation both by having infiltration where there's effectively none now, and the peak flow off-site and the volume off-site, which is effectively what leads the site through that culvert, is all going to go down.
All right, but it's not always just about where the water's going. It's also what's happening with the environment and everything else that there's so much pavement. I mean, maybe parts of this could be a nice crushed stone or something that would allow some of that recharge to be happening. And then leaving the building where it is, it looks like you're cutting back some of that buffer that you had for the west side. Obviously, the existing barn that's on the abutter's property now becomes a little bit more exposed with this line of cars that are going to be there. And the line of cars, again, when we're talking about environment, are going to be running their engines. So what's going to happen with all of that exhaust coming up and going into two areas that are neighborhoods? I know you can't do anything about that, but it's just perhaps if it were a little bit further away from that lot line where you've got so much land to work with.
Well, we understand that concern. We're also trying to use the existing building, and that's where it is. And with, obviously driver on that side, the only way to go around that vehicle and have the order board and get stuff from the window is to go to that side of the building.
All right. Well, and one of the things that was said first in the presentation is that this is a use by right drive-in. It's actually not a use by right. It's by approval.
Correct. Restaurant is a use by right in the business east.
Correct. Not the drive-through.
Yep.
So it just seems to me, I mean, you've got quite a lot of parking and queuing up for ice cream. Is it going to be open 12 months out of the year?
I don't, Sam, if Sam Lodiff, if you're on the line, do you want to answer that question about the expected hours or time?
It will be open all year round. During the summer months, it will be open extended hours. And then when November rolls around, it will not be open at night.
So what are you looking for hours of operation?
Probably 6 in the morning or like 7 in the morning to like 3 or 4 from November until March, and then from April until October, I would say we would be open till 9 at night.
So 7 until 9? And so going back to landscaping plan, so all of the trees and they look nice from the aerial view. what's the heights and everything? So you're taking away all the greenery that's already existing now that's acting as a buffer for the neighborhood behind on the north. So all of those pieces that are coming in now are height-wise, are they going to be 3 feet, 6 feet, 3 feet, 6 feet? Are you going to have a 20-foot tree? What are you going to be able to do to get some different heights there? Because I'm sure if you're going to be open at 9 too, there's going to have lights, and the lights are now going to spill out over to the neighborhood, the two neighborhoods there.
So in that area, well, first, as I stated, we're fixing an issue there of a lot of invasive species, so that we're solving that. And then within that area, we are mixing in a variety of heights and textures. Your evergreens are in that 6 foot height. Your trees are installed at probably 12, 15 foot height. And then you're right, you'll have your 2 or 3 foot high shrubs in that area. And then in reference to lighting, right, right, we're not going to have light pollution. We went with a very residential scale mounting height in that area. So we have 0 lot spillage off the lot line. We'll go with the 12 foot high mounting height, LED, full cutoff, night sky compliant.
Okay. All right. And I'm looking again at the plan, and in the corner that comes to the east as it bends around, that's been pretty much scrub landscaping because nobody's taking care of it. You don't continue around that bend. It's just kind of white. So what?
Yeah, that's lawn area. We're going to maintain that lawn area. Yep.
Okay. That's some of my questions for now.
And just touch on your base. You had your question on the cars by the drive-through and that abutting barn. And if you recall, those existing arborvitaes right there are probably 30 feet tall. So it's a great buffer between that barn and that drive-through.
Well, yes. Yep.
And just to piggyback on Larry's comments too, that barn and the abutting property at number 168 East Main is actually all set much higher than that drive-through lane. There's that also.
Okay, thanks. Lori, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to speak to Lisa's question about the amount of open space, and according to the table chart, the zoning chart, they're saying that just shy of 59% of the lot is going to be open space. So the balance of the area, so I guess that's about 41% will be impervious by their proposal. So that's one comment I wanted to make. As far as landscaping is concerned, I mean, it's a beautiful landscaping plan, especially along East Main Street. And I can appreciate the fact that you're buffering the dumpster, so I don't have to ask you to do it. And also the vegetation that you're proposing around the basin, I thought that was lovely. Couple of comments that I wanted to make is I noticed a couple of trees that looked to be in good shape. So my suggestion is that if you could save at least a couple of the mature trees that are healthy along East Main Street, then you could relocate a couple of the trees that you're proposing to the Route 20 frontage. We do have a requirement in our zoning bylaw that you put street trees along the frontage. And of course, the mall across the street from here has some lovely street trees. I understand that a lot of businesses are reluctant to plant street trees because they think it's going to obscure the use, but I just don't find that to be the case. The key, I think, is to think carefully about the placement of the street trees along Route 20. So like, for example, you could accommodate a street tree right next to the parking lot where it says snow storage that is closest to Route 20. that has the number 12 on it. That would be a good location for a street tree. And then another potential location is in the picnic table area where there's snow storage. You could set back a couple of street trees further in over by the picnic tables. And I'm sure those people who are sitting at the picnic tables in the heat of summer, eating their ice cream cones would appreciate a little bit of shade. So I would like you to consider that. And then another major concern that I had is the sidewalk along East Main Street ends at the driveway of the property next door. And then the sidewalk on Route 20 ends at the intersection of Bartlett Street and Route 20. So we do have a zoning requirement that says that you will extend the sidewalk in these areas along the frontage. So an absolute minimum, I would suggest that you extend the sidewalk to the driveways in both locations, and then make a connection from the sidewalks to the crosswalk location. So of course you have a paving stone walk, and then you have a crosswalk. A little bit concerned about the cars in the drive-through and the pedestrians. So I'd like to bring patrons to that crosswalk that goes in front of the drive-through, so they're not just walking willy-nilly. So if you could consider that. Those are pretty much, I did have a number. I don't know if you got my comment letter.
We did.
Okay, so I had like 21 comments. Some of them are specifically for the ZBA, but some of them I just wanted to call the attention of the design review.
And we appreciate all the work that you put into those comments, Lori. I would just want to quickly say in regard to the sidewalk issue, I think it says that applies where you're required part of having to have sidewalks across your frontage. If your required parking is 30 or more spaces, we're actually providing 30 spaces, but the required parking is less than that. We'll look at, I think your suggestion about maybe going to the driveways may work out. I just don't think we necessarily have to be roped into doing a sidewalk across all of the frontage. That's all.
I think when you consider the use, this is an ice cream parlor. So, and there's no interior seating. So people are going to be walking from their homes in the surrounding residential neighborhoods, and they're going to be coming along the existing sidewalk. So, I strongly recommend that the sidewalks be extended.
Sure. We understand the message, and we're gonna look at what we'll do in response to this.
Thank you.
Could I make a comment, Madam Chair?
Sure.
So the existing sidewalk on East Main Street does stop at the driveway for 168, but then there's a crosswalk that goes north to pick up the sidewalk that is on the north side of East Main Street. So it's not like there is no sidewalks on East Main Street in this area. It just changes from one side to the other. So
people aren't going to be crossing the street so that they can walk, 100 feet, and then they're going to cross the street again to go to the ice cream parlor. What they're going to do is they're just going to walk along the frontage, but there's not going to be a sidewalk to accommodate them. So
I'm not predicting the behavior. Yeah.
It's not an unreasonable request for a ice cream place.
It's not unreasonable.
Where you have counter service. So you're encouraging people to come use the counter service.
But I think the layout of the existing sidewalks was not mentioned. And I think the existing sidewalks are laid out to service the communities to the north of this site. So it's not unreasonable that those people in that community could continue to use that. Maybe we add a crosswalk onto the site of 168 from that existing sidewalk as well.
We're talking about a couple of 100 feet of frontage sidewalk. I don't think that that is an unreasonable ask. And it's required in the zoning, so you'd have to specifically ask for a waiver.
And who will maintain this new sidewalk?
Town. Town
Okay.
would maintain along East Main Street, and then Route 20 is, of course, Mass DOT.
Okay,
I agree with Lori. The sidewalk's really important with the use that's there.
Me as well. I'm glad, I was going to bring that up. I'm glad, Laurie, you are right on it.
And I'll chime in. I think the sidewalk's important, really based on the use. You know, if it was a bank or something, how many people walk up to a bank? But this could be a really cool thing for Northborough. We've had ice cream shops come and go, and hopefully this one will stay. And I'll do my comments. I can see the site from where I'm sitting, which is kind of convenient. And when we talk about street trees, I'm going to have to correct Lori. There aren't beautiful street trees across the street. Our landlord tore them all down. They've yet to be replaced. So hopefully, if we do them, I think the code said it's supposed to be in perpetuity, but all the ones that are across from us now have been cut down. As far as the green aspect of it, which Lisa spoke to a little bit, you know, moving the building to the east could give you a little more buffer to the west. But I think the greenest thing they're doing is retaining the building. Tearing it down and rebuilding it is a huge no-no when it comes to trying to save materials, construction, debris, waste, and everything else. So I think they're doing the best they can with what's there, and that's actually good in my opinion, because to move it is just a big deal. And we got all kinds of awards in Wellesley for trying to retain existing structures. So, you know, that's good. It saves money, and it's very green. There's a glitch between the floor plans and the site plan with respect to where the freezer is. So that probably should be corrected on one or the other. I'm not sure which one is taking precedence. And the concrete, the paving behind the building, what is that for? All the paving directly behind the building, not the drive. Is that just for receiving supplies or something?
Correct. That's essentially what that is. That area right now is already paved. We're not creating new pavement in that spot.
Yeah, and James, I'm not trying to limit, I'm just trying to understand it.
Yep.
Because it would be great if somehow the trash could go there, so it's not a focal point on the curve. It would be hidden behind the building. If there's a way to fit it there, that would be awesome. I don't know if that's possible, but it seems like it is. And just, you know, consider that. If there's not a way to do it, that's fine. I would also be careful with the landscaping, especially where we're putting trees at the corner of Bartlett for sight lines, for safety. When you're trying to look around the corner to make a turn, or if there's traffic there, just be very careful that we don't block views of vehicles on those corners. And I think the grass on the far east side is also a good idea. What you have there, I think that works well for the same reason, just the visibility coming off of East Main. If you do try to go on to Route 20, you don't want to block the views of the vehicles, really for safety reasons. And then I have one suggestion or question. If we have all these cool little canopies and serving windows on the east and I'll say the southeast, with all the kids, I would take, if you got the little bump in front of the building, I would have the sidewalk go straight across that paving and then to the left. Because I think if people are grabbing their ice cream and going straight across the drive aisle where the people are getting served, you're gonna have kids looking at the ice cream, someone grabbing their ice cream, taking their first sip out of the milkshake, and someone's gonna get run over. Because it's kind of a blind side position where the sidewalk goes directly in front of those cars. So at least if you go straight across, you have some chance of not getting hit. Straight across and then have the sidewalk run on what I would call the south side of that paved area over to the picnic tables. That seems like a big safety issue to me. And it may allow you to reduce a little bit of the paving on the left side of that area where the cars are coming out. But we've done banks and things, and you don't want a sidewalk going directly in front of the vehicles. Right after they get their food, they're going to take off, and then someone's going to be having their ice cream and taking their first bite, and then it gets ugly. It's a simple thing to do. There's no additional paving. It's just really where it goes for safety reasons. Hopefully that makes sense.
That seems like a good suggestion.
And then, I love the area where people are sitting out eating. That's really cool. Does the shade tree help? It certainly can. And back where Lori is, if there are some trees, because I'm looking out, I can see that one over there. It looks like you could save it. I literally can see it from my conference here. We're on top of Tavern in the Square. If there's a way to save some of those, that's always awesome to do that. So those were my only comments. If it would be great if we could get the trash behind the building, because that's going to be so visible from everywhere, and if it's behind the building, there's no reason for us or any of the customers to go behind the building. So based on where you put the freezer, that might be a great spot for it. I just a thought, and it's not imperative that you do it, but I think if it were my place, I'd probably want it there and have that corner. You might even be able to put a couple seats at that corner as well, a couple benches at that point. A couple picnic tables if you want it on the far east side. I think that's all I have, is just make sure we don't block sight lines of vehicles. The sidewalk going in front of the queue of traffic, and then getting the freezer where, just so we know exactly where it is, because there's two different locations. One's the site, one's the floor plan. And if the trash can fit there and you put a little fence so people getting the ice cream don't see it or smell it, that would be great. That's all I got.
Good input. And I know Tom has chimed in, but we want to give Tom a chance to explain about the building too.
Sure, sounds good.
Sure. Tom Reardon Company. James, do you have the photographs of the existing building and the surrounding structures?
I don't think I have them ready to queue up. If I've only got, I got sort of one version here. I can share of the building. I don't know. I think you sent some photos. I don't have those ready to go here. I apologize.
Okay, so this is the former Texas Barbecue, and we're facing north. This is the front elevation. There's an existing sign location. We're going to retain that sign location. We're going to replace that sign. Do you have any other photos here?
I have a couple photos that I took the other day.
Oh,
Okay.
Please, please.
Let's see if I can find them.
Oh,
Yeah, this is looking west, so that fake mansard roof has been removed. This is the elevation, as James mentioned, we're going to retain the existing concrete block building. It's approximately 40 by 45. It's a flat roof structure. So this mansard has been removed. There is an old storage shed that I think is going to be repositioned.
if I could just jump in on one other quick item. If you look in the background, look sort of over the hood of my car there, you can see that it was again labeled as a barn building on the property next door to 168. You can see how much higher that is. Again, just for relative position and perspective.
Okay,
So all those trees are staying, you're saying?
yes, along the west corner.
Right.
But the ones in the back, are those going away? Some of those tall ones between the neighborhood, or those all staying?
On the right side of that picture, most of those trees are going because they're, I think a lot of that greenery is actually bittersweet and other things. Maybe Larry could speak to that, that you see in that picture on the right side of it.
So to the right, rear right of that's where all that invasive species that'll be removed. There'll be new plantings there.
You have any other photos, James?
Hmm. Let's see. You see, this is looking straight from Route 20 through to where the new entrance onto East Main Street would be. Again, a lot of this greenery, unfortunately, is invasives. And I don't have I think, Tom, you were looking for one comparing this site to the site that Dave is actually in. I apologize, I just don't have that picture here.
Okay, why don't we just go to unless there are questions about the existing site, we could go to the architectural drawings.
Do you have that? I don't. That queued up. Sorry, I don't have that ready to go, Tom. I apologize. I should have had this ready.
Want me to try to share them?
Please, if
Sure.
you could
Okay.
save us here.
You stop
Sorry.
sharing, I can see, but I have to see what I have pulled up too, make sure.
So I
jump
stopped
in.
share.
Okay.
Apologize. I thought I was going to see it right here in my files, but it's not.
See, I had this picture that came in. Talks about the details. Oh, do you want the picture with the,
How
that
about the
showed
far-
the front
Yeah,
of the
floor-
building?
Floor plans and elevations.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I don't know if I have those pulled up. Let's see. Lori, those are on the website, right? I can try to see if I can download those.
Yes, they should be on the website.
I just have the pictures that you had sent the other day of the materials. So you want the, let's see. All right, I think I have it. Is that it? Can you see it?
Yeah, could you go to the floor plan below that? If you scroll up. All right, so this is the existing shell of the building. It's 40 by 45. As I said, it's concrete block, CMU block. There's one structural column in the middle. Otherwise, it's a wide open space. On the lower section, which is facing east, those are the windows where you place the orders. Facing south on the left is an entry and exit door, and also where you would pick up. On the top of the plan in the upper left corner is the drive-up window. The only new spaces created are for small office and a bathroom and janitor's closet. And there is a future freezer located on the rear that is not sized yet, so we just plugged in something that's pretty standard, 8 by 16. We are making some changes to the window locations. The two doors on front and rear are remaining. And the drive-up windows and the pickup windows would be new locations, new openings. So if we could go down to the next, right. So this shows on the right, the existing elevations, and on the left, the proposed. So we have an existing concrete block building that's not insulated. So we're proposing using what's called a STO, or exterior insulation finish system, on the exterior of the building. So we're adding 3 inches of rigid insulation with a stucco finish. And we have an overhang to protect the people coming to the pickup windows, etc. As you can see, existing front door remains the same, but we're changing the window locations on the south side. On the east side, we have 1 window. We're going to add 4. The shelves are at different elevations to accommodate accessibility requirements. If you go up to the next, you get the other 2 elevations. So the north is the rear. So you have 1 small window that will remain in the office. You have the second means of egress and the future freezer location. What you can see from this is that we are adding approximately a 3-foot high parapet wall above the flat roof, with the intent of placing the mechanical equipment on the roof so you won't have it visible from the site. And that parapet is on 3 sides: east, south, and west. The existing roof is about 12.3 feet high, so the parapet will bring it up to around 15, 16. And then we have a taller sign wall on the south elevation that goes up a little bit higher. So in terms of building size and elevation, we're well within the allowable for business east. So if we want to go all the way up to the little, I did a quick concept sketch. So the gray material with the horizontal banding is the exterior insulation finish system. Has a little bit of a cornice on the top. The orange piece is like the signboard. The signage is being worked on by a graphic designer. So this is kind of a placeholder. I don't know what the designer will come up with. The windows will be probably aluminum storefront in either bronze or black or dark gray. We have panels above and below the windows. And these are sliding aluminum frame windows to allow the servers. And I think I scanned a couple of samples that Sam had made up that you have. And the other detailed drawing was kind of a cutaway view of how the The exterior insulation is installed on the exterior of this concrete block building. So, we think this is an appropriate design for the business east, and we think it's the site and the building are certainly a major improvement to what exists on the site now. So if you have any questions.
Okay, I'll leave this up if any board members have questions.
Well, I'll go first.
Sure.
I was under the impression, and I may be wrong, that some of the idea was to have our buildings kind of look, New Englandish. This looks very modern. And I wonder too, if that whole wall that is called the sign wall is going to be utilized for signage, the entire wall. You're going to have, your ice cream flavors and things like that be posted on that wall. Where's that planning to be? Because Beezer's tried to use their whole building for pricing. And that really hasn't been addressed, but I think it's just way too modern for the area, but that might be a personal preference.
Well, if you look at the context of East Main Street, you have a real variety of contemporary and pseudo traditional buildings. So this is a business strip. This is kind of the highway architecture of today, and it is modern in its feel and use of materials, but we think it's appropriate for the intended use and for its location.
And you wouldn't consider making it look a little bit more like the one across the street at the tavern, which is a little bit more on the colonial looking, if that's the right word.
Well, maybe Dario might have a better opinion as to how you'd categorize it, but that's kind of postmodernish where they're exaggerating the cornice and some other details. This is a small startup building of, 40 by 45. We're not only single tenant. So my client is comfortable with this design, and that's what we're presenting.
So it certainly is not in context with any of the buildings within, 100, 200, 300 feet, but I don't know that we've decided everything has to be contextual. It's kind of fun looking. I don't know what we do about the big sign. I don't know how that fits in zoning to have a 20-foot tall sign. I do see, just for the safety opportunity now, if you look at the edge of that sign and just continue a line straight out in front of that sign, could literally just be grass, so that now you don't walk in front of the cars, because right to the left of the sign, if I'm not mistaken, that's where the cars will be coming out.
Correct.
It's to me, it's kind of a cute building, but is it Northborough? I don't know. That's a tougher question. I'm looking out at the houses all behind it. I'm looking for my building. I think Venus is, your classic old little strip mall building, which is directly across the street. And then if you continue over to Whitney's and everything else, that's pretty colonial and traditional. So I don't know where we're going as a town. Is it good to have something, a little diversity? To me, it makes me smile, which is what ice cream does. I think it's very dangerous because I'm going to gain a lot of weight walking across the street. But I think that's my problem. But it's a tough one for me, because I do like the design. I don't know that it's appropriate, but we have a lot of different stuff. I think if that doesn't become, a big menu and a distraction, it could be kind of a cool little thing. It's no different than the Golden Arches, as far as I'm concerned, but the McDonald's a lot of times is still colonial. So it's a tough one. And I don't have a strong opinion either way. I don't think it's contextual, but I don't know that it has to be contextual. That's kind of sort of where I am on it as an architect.
Thank you. I was concerned too with the big sign, like, I know that doesn't fit our sign bylaw, and is that gonna be lit up? Or, I wouldn't like that to be one big, like Golden Arches, how it's a interlit sign. I'm hoping that it'll be like, have a light that shines down on it. And as far as the building is that really gonna be orange? I was thinking it was red.
I sent a sample email to the planning department, and also there are existing samples at the planning department if you want to see the ones that were prepared for the gray and the orange.
Okay. So the building itself is gray, but it's not white, it's gray.
Yeah, it's a warm gray. And
And
there'll be the windows and the overhang may be, well, we're still deciding whether it'll be a dark gray or a black for the accent colors.
Mhm. I guess I'll have to go down to the planning board and see the colors in real life. But I am concerned too with the big sign, and like Dario said about the kids eating the ice cream and walking out in front of the drive-thru. That is a big concern.
Well, I agree. If you exit from the pickup window and you go directly south and not go west towards the drive-through, that makes a lot of sense. And this orange wall is not all sign. The L part is sign, and whether there's a graphic, that would be sign, but the entire thing is not a sign.
Yeah, as long as it's not like Lisa said, like Beezer's did end up putting their menu boards up and.
Well, the proposal is to have the menu boards on the east-facing elevation between the windows.
Okay. And I did go to the website for the outdoor materials, and it could make it look more like a clapboard, or it could be a brick. But this, I think you did point out, is going to be a stucco. Are there going to be lines? So are the lines going to be there? Or is it just going to be one solid stucco building? Like right now in the picture, it makes it look like, like cement board.
Well, those horizontal lines are like a 3/4 to an inch V-shaped groove that is burned into the insulation, and then it's coated with stucco, so you get a linear shadow line to break up the massing of the wall.
So it's burned in. Will it all be the same color? So it won't look like cement boards. It'll look like one color with a faint line, but it will be the same color.
Correct. These are indentations. The east and the south elevation will probably have the light gray, but the north and the west probably have a darker gray. So those are on the back side of the building. But the spacing of these grooves is approximately, 18 inches apart.
Okay. Well, we're coming upon 10 o'clock. Does anybody else have any questions? I'm assuming you'll come back next month. We had some questions. We also wanted to see the street view, and maybe the colors will be, well, you already have the colors, but the sign, maybe you'll have more about the
Yes.
sign detail.
Right. We're working on that now.
I'd also like to see what the plan is for the signage on the east side and how it's going to be on the building.
That was one of Lori's comments as well in her comment letter.
Okay, so you'll go through the comment letter, and a lot of times applicants come back with the answers to the comment letter, and then we can review those.
That's our intention, and we've gotten a lot of good input from you folks as well. Thank you.
Okay.
And can we look at the floor plan real quick, Amy?
Sure.
And I'm just gonna pose this as a question. In the back to the right, where they have the freezer. So we could see to the right, because all the pictures are in the way. There you go. Is it possible, guys, and I don't, again, I want to be a pain, if that freezer is end fed, so it sticks out perpendicular, and then right next to it is the garbage. So all that stuff is behind, and then along that serving window, you just continue a little half wall or a fence or a screen. That could really keep all that stuff kind of sort of where we want it. And maybe you don't want it there, but it's like dragging the garbage in the winter all the way across the parking lot's kind of a pain. And I think you could use that corner and put a couple picnic tables there. It'd be really cool in the grass, you know. Is there something wrong with that, or am I missing something? You know, and James, this is one of the ones where if it really is broken and I'm missing something, you know, I don't want to say do it and then it's such a hardship.
No, I
like
think
to.
I think the initial response was that we wanted to get the trash away from the customers.
So they don't smell it.
Right.
Not only, excuse me, can I cut in here for a moment?
Yeah.
Not only from a smell standpoint, but also from a rodent standpoint. Where we're coming from is we want to keep the facility in the interior as rodent-free as possible. And the person who's doing business with us in regards to the restaurant industry, his number one request was if we could move the dumpster away from the building to break the cycle of rodents going between the building and the dumpster, it would keep the property interior-wise healthier and cleaner. So the idea was to put the dumpster at the other end and, you know, nestle it in from a landscaping standpoint. So I completely understand where you're coming from, what you're saying, just from a cleanliness standpoint, and, you know, not for nothing, from what the property was and where they had the dumpster. Part of the reason, you know, we wanted to save quite a bit of that stuff, and the reason you see the building in its current condition is because when we started to look at it and pull the walls away and the roof and everything, it was a haven for mice, squirrels, and rodents. They were living inside the walls, outside the walls. They'd been in there for decades, so it looked so. That was why we decided to move the dumpster away from the building.
Okay, and we've done, I don't know how many restaurants. You can rodent-proof a building very simply, especially when you're going to be redoing the whole skin. So that's something that the only way a rodent should be able to get in at this point in time, if it's concrete block, and you put on the EFS or Stowe, which is just a brand of EFS, it can be rodent-proofed very easily now that you're completely redoing the skin. So wherever they're getting in, it should be quite apparent. We make buildings bug proof, you know, so that a bee can't fly in or a fly, but that's not what we're talking about here. We don't have to do that. Anyway, that's up to you guys. It just, I get, and I do understand the reasoning. I get it on both sides. If the dumpster was attached to the back of that freezer, you know, then it's not next to the building, but, you know, it's still, the building can and should be rodent proof by design to begin with. So any plumbing fixtures, electrical holes, that's where a lot of them get in. If it's just someone bangs a hole in the concrete block and they stuff a little insulation, they hope the mouse doesn't get in. Well, the mouse is going to get in. You just have to caulk that stuff all properly. And I would hope you guys would do that, which keeps, you know, the cockroaches and everything else out, never mind the mice.
Okay. A lot of good food for thought here, Dave and
No pun intended.
Amy and Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. It's now 10 o'clock, so we're going to call the end of the meeting. We'll have to look at the minutes at next meeting, which will be the second Thursday of June. I can pull it up. Looks like it will be June 8th.
Okay.
Does that work for the applicant?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your morning.
You too. Can I,
Thank you.
does anybody on the board have anything to add before we leave? Any? I guess not. Nothing new to talk about, but we'll see you in June.
All
So
right.
I can make a motion that we close the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay. Dario DeMar,
Aye.
Lisa Maselli, and Dave Barron, if you can connect. All right. Meeting adjourned, everybody.